Hi, I am Sashwati Sarkar, and you're watching The Times of India. Let's get straight to the point. America is facing a growing talent gap in finance and accounting, and Indian professionals are stepping up with global credentials like the Certified Public Accountant. Indian talent armed with the global credentials like the CPA are stepping up to bridge the gap. But here's the catch: tightening visa rules, cancelled student records, and remote work replacing relocation. What all does it mean to the young Indian aspirants? With me today is Mr. Sripal Jain, co founder of Simandhar Education, someone who has shaped the CPA journeys of thousands. We are going to ask him the tough questions and get the straight answers. Welcome to the show, Mr. Jain. Mr. Jain, estimates suggest that the US continues to face a major talent crunch while it comes to finance and accounting. How are certifications like Certified Public Accountant helping Indians professionals plug that gap?
Oh, absolutely. The talent crunch in the US accounting and finance space is real. It's not a short term issue. As senior professionals retire and fewer younger people enter the field, the gap is only widening. But then this is where the Indian talent, especially US CPAs, is playing a transformational role. So if you see, the US CPA is not just a piece of paper, it's a global passport. So it brings credibility, capability, and global readiness. And if you see that, Indian professionals with their strong academic background and fluency in English are incredibly well suited for this. And with access to high quality training through platforms like ours, Simandhar Education, right here in India, so we are helping them become job ready faster and better. So what's really changing in the last few years is the mindset. US firms aren't just outsourcing low end work, they're building center of excellence today, and that's why they are hiring Indian CPAs to lead audits, manage client relationships, and make strategic decisions. So we have had firms directly onboarding talent from India, sponsoring their CPA journeys, and placing them in the leadership tracks. So I think it's a win-win for Indian professionals to get global exposure and career growth, and US firms to get smarter and qualified people. So who typically understand both global standards and local dynamics.
Right, absolutely. Let's come to a very crucial aspect of global education, especially in the US. With rising US visa uncertainties, especially under a tighter immigration rhetoric, what advice would you give Indian CPA aspirants worried about the post certification job opportunities?
I think yes, there is a lot of conversation around rising visa uncertainties and tighter immigration in the US. And it's natural for CPA aspirants from India to feel concerned. But there's what I always tell them: don't let fear drive the decisions. Clarity and long term vision guide you. So we need to understand that the demand for CPA is not just tied to geography, it's tied to trust and credibility. Global companies, whether based in the US, India, or anywhere, they do recognize CPA as a gold standard. So, in fact, with today's interconnected business models, employers are looking for talent that can handle cross border taxation, compliances, SEC regulations. So, CPAs are uniquely qualified and they suit for these rules. So, even if you see, second, the landscape in India is quite evolving with GCCs, Big Fours, and US based startups setting up operations here. The scope for working on international projects based in India is significantly expanding. So that's why many of our CPA students are getting hired directly into these roles without even needing a US visa initially. And also, it's very important to see the shorter immigration cycles and to see beyond what is happening, beyond the political things. Like the political winds change, but the skills stay relevant. So I think the current US leadership is focused more on economic revival, tighter audits, a robust financial environment, and I think that is increasing the demand for skilled, highly skilled professionals.
No, so, what would be your advice to Indian CPA aspirants? Because they will certainly be worried about their post certification job opportunities in the US.
I think there is always that fear that the visas would become a problem and people might not see CPA as one of the routes. But if you see the everlasting impression what CPA qualification has, because they can practice across the world. I mean, CPA is not just recognized in the US; it is recognized in Canada, it is recognized in Singapore, it's recognized in Australia. So the benefits actually exceeds the cost, and that is what would make students to stick to this. So there will be a strategic shift from the students, so they'll not kind of go through that routine traditional route that this is where they want to get into, but there will be a strategic shift in the way they approach this particular area.
Right, right. So, Mr. Jain, many students see CPA as a pathway to the US, but is the certification alone enough? Or do they need some complementary skills and experiences that employees are looking forward to or now demanding?
So it's true that many students typically look at CPA as a way to reach to the US, while it can uh, open door to the US. But we need to understand that today's global job market expects more than just a certification. CPA gives you technical strength, credibility, and a deep understanding of US accounting standards. But then employers are looking for professionals who can think beyond the numbers. That means you need to be good with data, understanding the automation tools like SQL, Power BI, Excel, and even basic Python. You've seen students doing Python as well. So, most importantly, having strong communication and critical thinking skills. So,
So these are the additional skills that uh, the hiring bodies of significant companies are looking forward to, apart from the CPA degree alone in this profession. And
yes, 100%. I think you think about it, a CPA, they can explain complex financial data in a way that help businesses make better decisions. Is a way more valuable than someone who just clears the exams. So what companies are looking basically is for business partnering. They want CPAs to drive more revenue than just audit the financial statements. So I think that is where the students need to go into, and that's where practical exposure becomes very important. So they want to know, have you done internships? Have you worked on real world accounting systems? So we have a practical US tax stuff at Simandhar Education, and there we always encourage our students to go beyond the theory and get hands-on exposure. So that course basically covers all the practical hands-on training on the systems, on the tools. So that kind of helps them to get a real-time experience. So yes, CPA is a powerful foundation, but then pairing it with the right soft skills, tech tools, and real-world exposure, that's what truly makes you future ready. So the goal isn't just to get to the US, but it's to become globally relevant wherever you are.
Mr. Jain, do you see US firms increasingly open to remote roles for India specific or India based CPAs and CFAs given the work visa bottlenecks? Or also, is the global desk job the new route to US paychecks?
Yes, 100%. If you see the US firms, they're definitely becoming more open to hiring remote talent from India, especially when it comes to CPAs and EAs, enroll agents. So that is a typical US tax certification. So the traditional route of relocating to the US with work visa is no longer the only path. So what we are seeing is the rise of new era, the global desk job. We typically call that as GCC, Global Capability Centers. The companies come to India, set up their offices here, and this just isn't the workaround for visa issues. I mean, that's a strategic shift. So if you see, US companies are realizing they can build high global performing teams without the delay, cost, or uncertainties of immigration. So they can scale faster when they open offices across India. And we have been seeing that a lot of the firms are doing that. And the biggest thing which drives them is the time zone advantage, English proficiency, strong technical background, and now a growing number of US qualified professionals are making India a perfect place to scale. So definitely at Samandar, we have seen that firsthand. I mean, many of our students are being hired by big fours, multinationals, and even US based startups. So they're getting good salaries, at least from 9 to 12 lakhs LPA, and a good role, which is a customer front ending role with US facing responsibilities, and then global exposure. You have a secondment opportunity also if you work in the firm in India for a couple of years, because you're working, say, for an example, Deloitte, EY, or KPMG. You work there for a couple of years, you get an secondment opportunity on an L1 visa. So they send you to the US, that helps you to grow the global exposure as well. So what's more exciting is that compensation is catching up too. We are seeing in the US there is a huge shortage of accountants. Almost 300K professionals have left the accounting profession because US is an aging population currently. Many of them are getting retired. So we are seeing that the demand for accounting is going up, and we are seeing firms offer dollar-linked salaries, performance-based bonuses, and then global opportunities even for the remote roles. So yes, this job isn't just real; it's here to stay. And for every young professional to build a global career, this is your moment. You no longer have to cross borders to create impact. The world is ready for you and exactly where you are.
My next question to you would be, what should Indian students know about the difference between pursuing CPA from India versus relocating to the US for it? I mean, what are the trade offs in terms of credibility, costs, and career growth?
It's a great question. It's one that students have been asking today. The good news is, with recent changes, I mean, you don't need to relocate to the US to pursue the CPA exam. The CPA exam is in India. During the COVID time, only they have made that change since 2021. The exams are being conducted in India. Students can complete their entire CPA journey from preparation to exams right here. So now let's look at the trade-offs. Cost-wise, the CPA from India is much more affordable because you save on visa, travel, and
Right, absolutely. Living cost, and I mean, it's a huge, but it's a sea of a difference. Yeah.
obviously the time difference, because you go there, you will have a jet lag. So that makes it more easier because then you know don't need to travel to the US to write the exam. And if in terms of credibility, there's absolutely no difference. I mean, you write the exam in New York or you write exam in Delhi, the CPA license remains the same because it's issued by the US state boards. It holds the same global value. Career wise, also, it doesn't matter where you study, how you apply what you have learned, it does matters. Student pursuing CPA in India have access to incredible opportunities with big four firms, GCCs, like I said, US based startups. So you can build a US facing career right here from India. So once you have gained experience, relocating later becomes easier with strong job prospects because in the US, if you see, experience plays a bigger role than the qualification. So if you have the right experience, and then you can get a immediate exposure as well to onshore projects, and networking also becomes easier because there's less cost now. There's no immigration uncertainty and all those stuff, because if you're in India, it helps you become more stable and cost effective route. So my advice is to focus and align yourself with long term goals. So if you want a global recognition, flexibility, and career growth, CPA delivers that, whether you're in India or in the SFO.
Mr. Jain, the US government's expanded criteria for cancelling international students' legal status, including minor infractions, have raised concerns. I mean, globally. Like, we all know that student visas have been cancelled on account of overspeeding. So, what precautions should Indian students take to safeguard their visa status? And what is currently the ground reality of US, of studying in the US?
I think if you see the new immigration guidelines, they have made things more sensitive for international students. There is no denying that. I mean, minor infractions which earlier might have been overlooked or resolved more easily are now being treated with much stricter consequences and very harsh. I mean, there's a sudden loss of legal status. So that's understandable because that creates a lot of anxiety among the students and parents. So my first advice is to stay informed, stay compliant. Ethic is very, very important. So treat their visa status as seriously as your acads. So every small rule matter now, not even violating a traffic thing. So whether it's attending the number of required classes, updating your addresses with the university, maintaining full-time enrollment. So these aren't just formalities anymore. So they are directly tied up with your legal status. And maintain strong communication with DSO. So DSO are the designated school officials. So they are your first line of defense. So if you plan to change course, take a break, or face any academic difficulties, you better speak to them in advance. Don't assume anything. And third, most important thing is to document everything. Keep copies of all communications, approvals, academic records. So in case of any issue, these records can be your safety net. So avoid shortcuts. I would strongly recommend that. Avoid fake internships. working off campuses without OPT or CPT, or relying on agents promising easy ways around rules, because they are all over. So these
Absolutely,
USCs
absolutely. That's
need to
that's
play.
another challenge of a different level.
Exactly. So this US system is becoming more digitized and transparent. So one misstep can kind of lead to long-term consequences. So, and finally, I would say don't discourage, rather be more prepared, because the US still values skills and skilled international students. So the message is clear: you have to play by the book. So at Samandar, also we are guiding the students to not just pursue academic excellence but also compliance excellence. It's very important to be ethical and play in the US with high level of integrity, and that's what we are kind of focusing more on.
Right. Yeah. So, my next question to you: given the increased scrutiny and potential for abrupt policy changes, do you foresee a shift in Indian students' preference towards alternative destinations for CPA certification?
So if you see in the past also, students were considering alternatives like Canada or UAE as with it. So it's true that the increased scrutiny and potential policy shifts are making Indian students rethink their approach to studying in the US. But I don't believe that it will lead to a significant exodus from the US. Instead, we are seeing a more strategic shift in how students are navigating their career paths. So I have like answered in before, like there are international testing centers right here in India where they can pursue their certifications. They can complete their CPA qualifications in India, so without needing to move to the US. So this approach reduces the financial burden, mitigates the visa related risk, and still open doors to global career opportunities. This is the question isn't whether the US is still desirable, it's about finding smarter, more flexible routes to the same destination. And while some students may consider alternatives like Canada or UAE due to more predictable immigration pathways, if you have seen, Dubai have become the GCC hub now. It has become the tech capital of GCC. So the US remains still the benchmark for finance and accounting certifications, I would say. And the key is adaptability, and students aren't backing away from the US, they're simply adjusting to the changing landscape.
Understandable. But even if students look forward to alternative destinations, what are the most popular? What would be the most popular ones in case of CPAs and CFAs?
I would say they are trying to move to Australia and Singapore. That is where the preferred locations are after the US, and finally comes UAE.
Right. If you could elaborate a little bit on Singapore and UAE, why are these locations becoming popular for CPAs and CFAs?
So, though we don't have a center in Singapore and Australia, but they are planning to do masters there. So they do a masters in accounting, say at Australia or Singapore, then come back and do the US CPA. Because if you see, CPA along with masters do add a lot of value in the US. So they take that route and then switch over from Australia or Singapore to the US. So that also becomes little easier. So that's like an intermediary route.
Right, right,
So
right.
that is how they are trying to extract that. Yeah.
Understood. So that brings me to my last question of this very insightful conversation. You've trained thousands of students for global credentials. Do you feel Indian universities still fall short in aligning their finance curriculum with international standards? And if so, what is missing?
So over the years, we at Simandhar Education have had the privilege of training thousands of students for global credentials.
It's not about Simandhar. It's not about Simandhar. I'm talking about the national scenario, national versus international scenario.
So I think Indian universities have made significant strides in the field of finance education, but there are still areas where we fall short in fully aligning with international standards, especially when it comes to the global finance certifications like CPA, E, and others. So I think the most important gap I feel is the practical application of the concepts. While Indian curriculum often emphasize theory and academic knowledge, the global certifications, the way they are designed, they are lesser than 12 months. They're easier to complete, but they focus on real world scenarios and industry practices. So these credentials are rooted in providing a hands on experience and problem solving mindset. So that directly translates into the workplace. And Indian universities still need to integrate more practical learning opportunities, case studies, live projects that connect students with the realities of global finance. Especially, I'm talking about Indian universities in the commerce space. We have already been seeing IIMs, ISBs do have all this stuff in MBA, but in commerce, we don't have that. And another aspect is the global exposure, because finance is dynamic, ever evolving field, and international market regulations, financial instruments are constantly changing. So we need, as a university, to adopt and include these global financial systems, international accounting projects, practices more comprehensively, rather than focusing predominantly on domestic frameworks, because there's a lot of cross-border taxation compliances and collaborations are happening within international firms and universities, so that can provide the students to much needed exposure to global finance. And finally, I would say technology also is playing a very big role. So if we can see, the financial world is increasingly driven by AI, data analytics, blockchain, automation, and now we have seen Google CEO talking about quantum computing. So that are all shaping the future of finance. So Indian institutions need to ensure that the students are equipped with technology, the necessary digital skills that will make them future ready and competitive in a global context. So that said, we are seeing universities take steps in those direction, but there is a growing recognition which is needed for the global standards, and many of them are bringing to introduce global certification programs, industry partnerships, and digital tools to the curriculum. So the journey is ongoing, and Indian universities can be at the forefront of the global finance systems.
Mr. Jain, thanks a lot for your insightful, uh, you know, views and also the pieces of information that you have shared with us. They're not only enlightening, they're eye opening.